So I remember years ago, 2010, Michael Vick had like 6 touchdowns on Monday Night Football and immediately became the talk of the league, the MVP. But the truth about Michael Vick that year was he was good. He was 8-3 as a starter, had a 100 quarterback rating, and finished with 30 total touchdowns. So that game, he looked like the best quarterback in the world. But that season was one of the really memorable seasons in Michael Vick's career. And so let's not pretend like this comes from nowhere. Philadelphia made the playoffs last year. Philadelphia had an excellent offseason. It's a bad division, and Jalen Hurts got him into the playoffs last year. They upgraded the defense. They upgraded A.J. Brown. They got him a star wide receiver. They're the number 1 offense in the NFL right now, and they look really, really good. So it did not come from nowhere. This has been a slow build. And if you look at Jalen Hurts' career numbers, his passer rating, his touchdowns, his quarterback rating, it's all moved up quickly. This is not a flash in the pan. And by the way, the NFL does give us occasionally these weird stories like the Bengals making the Super Bowl or the Jaguars now threatening Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and the Steelers. We do get these out-of-nowhere stories, but I don't think Philadelphia feels like that. I think Jalen Hurts, it's funny about Jalen Hurts. What the Eagles are basically doing, they're just leaning into what he does. And my takeaway, and I've been saying this now for a year about Jalen Hurts, in 2022, quarterbacks come in all shapes and sizes. He's productive. That's all I know. He's productive. A little short, doesn't have a great arm. He's productive. Baseball is a sport for stats. Basketball is a sport for glamour and style. Football, you win Sunday. Are you productive? I don't care what it looks like. It's productive. And so, the thing about Jalen Hurts is he's been doubted everywhere. He got Alabama to 2 titles. Then he went to Oklahoma and put up like Heisman-level numbers. And then he comes into this league and everybody doubts him. But there's a lot of things here he does which the all-time legends do. His work ethic is unbelievable. His weight room physique, his weight room accomplishments are remarkable. His feet, his ability to move and shift the pocket, remarkable. His leadership stuff, excellent. And he's becoming a better passer. But I think the overall feeling I get about Philadelphia is that Nick Sirianni, who I would argue he's a bigger surprise than Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was very good at Bama and very good at Oklahoma. Jalen Hurts was a great high school All-American. He was a great college quarterback. And he led Philadelphia to a playoff. I've seen a linear growth with him. Nick Sirianni came out of nowhere. His opening press conference was horrible. He'd never been a head coach anywhere. Did he really have any play-calling duties in Indianapolis? And he came here and he had a bad Philadelphia press conference. He's actually the shock. Jalen Hurts being productive is not that shocking. Got a lot of doubters, but he's been productive. High school, college, and now the pros. So, but I think the message, the moral to the story, the message for Philadelphia is this. Everybody is leaning into what they do best. Nick Sirianni came in calling plays like McVay and Shanahan. Halfway through year 1, Sirianni's like, nope, I'm not good at this. I'm giving it up. Nick Sirianni realized instead of being rigid and stubborn and bullish, he's like, you know what? I can't do this. I'm going to let somebody else call the plays. I'm going to be the walk-around coach. Going to walk around, motivate, keep my eye on everything. He acknowledged what he was, but clearly he acknowledged what he wasn't. And Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia is doing the same thing. They've created an offense for what he does well. They're not trying to fit him into something that he may not do as well. So kind of my takeaway on Philadelphia is both the head coach and the quarterback who have lived a life of critics and doubters are leaning into what they do best. They're not Josh Allen. They're not Andy Reid. And they've come to terms with it. And they're leaning into it. And I look at them right now, and I think it's a very short list, it may be no list, of teams better than them in the NFC. There are teams that may have quarterbacks that are taller. They may have more experienced coaches. But right now, find a team in the NFC that has a greater self-identity than Philadelphia. They know exactly what they are. And it's hard to prepare for them. And I say this about Lamar Jackson. Like, how do you prepare for Philadelphia? Your quarterback doesn't move like that. You won't face another offense like that. I mean, there used to be a college team that they had Fisher DeBerry was the coach, Air Force. And Air Force ran this quirky offense that it was impossible to prepare for in 4 days for college kids. And it was amazing how often they'd go to a Tennessee or they'd play a big dog and they'd be reasonably competitive without any pro players because it was hard to prepare for them. You only got like 4 days of prep. There's a lot of great young coaches in the NFL, but the two that are defensive coaches, as the league pivots to offense, are Mike Vrabel and Sean McDermott. So we're going to talk Sean McDermott here for the purpose of this segment. The idea, first of all, New England, anybody can coach anything. Put a defensive coordinator or Joe Judge calling plays is absolutely ridiculous. So since Sean McDermott has arrived, they have drafted defense, developed defense, and schemed defense excellently. Right now, Buffalo's defense is an avalanche going downhill, and I hope you're not a skier. Because if you have an average quarterback, they are going to roll over you. Their corners are great. Their safeties are excellent. Their linebackers move well. They add Von Miller to an incredibly deep defensive line. Their head coach in an offensive pivoting league is a great young defensive coach. But sometimes a defensive coach gets in the way of the offense. I felt that at times with Mike Tomlin and Pete Carroll. But a history in the NFL, we do have a history. Defensive coach with a superstar quarterback. That's how Dungy won his Super Bowl. That's how Belichick won his Super Bowls. That's how Pete Carroll and Tomlin won their Super Bowls. That's how Jimmy Johnson won his Super Bowls. The great young defensive coach and a superstar quarterback. Now, and I think that's what you have in Buffalo, and it's why they're going to win Super Bowls. How many, I don't know. But the difference is in Buffalo, this defensive coach, unlike Tomlin and Pete Carroll at times, doesn't feel like he's getting in the way of it. They went and spent money on the offensive line. They went and gave up draft picks for Stephon Diggs. They let Josh Allen play big and loose and take swings and occasionally turn it over. That's the difference. I would always hire an offensive coach if given the choice today. But if you get a young defensive coach, Vrabel or a Sean McDermott, he has the self-awareness to come to terms with, listen, receivers matter more. We're giving up draft picks for them. Offensive line matters more. We're going to go spend big money, buy a guy from Tennessee, or Rams, excuse me. Was it Rams or Tennessee? Rams? Played for both. And with Josh Allen, they don't handcuff him. I mean, he throws picks. He's taking huge swings. He's making mistakes. And so if you're going to go defensive coach, McDermott is my kind of defensive coach. Because I like Mike Tomlin and Pete Carroll. But good God, neither one of them can get the offensive line right. Pittsburgh's last in offensive spending. Pittsburgh will spend a fortune on a safety, Minkah Fitzpatrick. They'll give up draft picks for a safety. Seattle pays both their safeties a fortune. So I do think there's a sensibility to the offensive side of the ball, the way the league is moving, that I would always go offense. But if you get a defensive guy, he can't be rigid. He's got to get the league has changed. And between their O-line spending, wide receiver upgrades, and the ability to just let Josh Allen make a bunch of mistakes, they don't handcuff him, they don't corner him, they don't marginalize him, they just let him go. You know, he's the home run hitter he's gonna strike out. He may lead the league in strikeouts, but it's okay because we do have a history here. Great defensive coaches with star quarterbacks have about half the Super Bowl. Hi everybody, thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.